Alright, welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. In this tutorial, we're going to learn the power of smart objects. Unbelievable as they may sound, smart objects are essentially protective envelopes. So you can sort of think of them like containers to hold your images in. And any kind of transformations, filters you apply, basically will be protected. The pixels inside will be protected from any kind of destructive changes, which is pretty amazing. So I brought this image in, and it's quite large from this other zombie image here. I just selected this arm from this other zombie here, and I'm going to duplicate this layer. First thing I'm going to do, click OK, and I want to show you the difference between a smart object and a regular image here. So the first one here, I'm going to right click and basically choose to, where is it here? Convert to smart object. So there it is. And you'll notice what will happen is you get this little envelope container that appears in the window here. Sometimes it'll end up in the corner here, but essentially now that is a protected smart object. I'm going to turn that one off temporarily, and I have the other one here. Now what I'm going to do is select the one below and hit Control T to go into free transform mode, and then or Command T on the Mac, and then Control or Command 0 so I can zoom out to see the bounding box here. And I'm going to hold Shift and basically scale this down quite a bit, and then hit Control 0 or Command 0 to kind of snap back into place. Now what I have here is an arm that has some white added to it. We could definitely mask that out, but what I want to show you is if I hit return or enter on the PC, we have this hand here. Now basically right now it looks okay, it's not horrible, but what happens if we do transformations and more transformations? So let me demonstrate this. I'm going to hit Control T or Command T on the Mac. I'm going to scale this down really small, something like that. I'll even rotate it, maybe even scale it back up just a tiny bit, and then hit enter, return. And then you can see if I zoom in here how small and how many pixels. Basically Photoshop had to throw away a lot of pixels to scale the image down that small. Let's go ahead and hit Control T or Command T again and scale it back up, and about the same size. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but and then hit enter, return, and you'll see how destructive that process was. I mean, basically this is now a blurry image. It's absolutely horrible. So let me turn that off temporarily and then turn back on this smart object. Now let's demonstrate here. I'm going to hit Control T or Command T on the Mac, and again hit Control 0 to snap out to its longest dimension here. And I'm going to bring it up and then hit Control 0 or Command 0 on the Mac to zoom in. Maybe rotate a little bit here. And I think I'm going to scale it down a little bit more. Something like that maybe. And then hit Control 0 and then hit enter, return. And you can see here is the image of that arm. It does look a little bit sharper than before, but watch what happens. I'm going to do that same thing with Control T or Command T. Scale it down really small. Rotate, maybe even scale it down even smaller yet. Hit enter, return, and then zoom in on it. And again, Photoshop has thrown away a lot of pixels to make it that size. But watch what happens when I hit Control T or Command T and scale it back up. What has happened is all of a sudden the detail has reappeared. What's going on here? And this is the power of the smart object. It essentially protects the original photos pixels. In fact, if I double click on the icon, what it'll do is it'll open up the encapsulation into its own layer and reveal the arm all by itself. Now I can do any kind of modifications I want in here, and it will actually happen onto the other layers, which is pretty amazing. So to demonstrate this, I'll grab the magic wand tool, click outside the arm here, and you can see all the white areas being selected. I'll hold shift, get this little bit here perhaps, and then I'll hold alt or option on the square circle to mask it off essentially. Let's zoom in on here and just make sure there's no extra little bits, but that looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is close it out by clicking a little close option here, and it'll say, do you want to save changes? And I'm going to click yes, and what will happen is voila, it is instantly updated on here. So it's kind of like a linked object in a way, which is pretty cool. And then the super cool thing is basically I can scale it up or down, and it's completely non-destructive. Now, the one drawback of smart objects, you might say, well, why doesn't everyone use smart objects? The one drawback that there is that basically it's very memory intensive. So what happens is the uh, the power of this does increase the file size. So if you had 100 images with smart objects, depending on your machine, it would be really slow and lagging. But that's the basic introduction of the power of smart objects. We'll definitely discover that and explore them more in the future. Until then, see you next time in Adobe Photoshop CC. Cheers.